Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star. Good morning everybody. We are not going to be doing anything on the farm today. The crops are doing their thing growing, so we're just gonna give them some time. We are actually going to be working on my house construction. We have a few things going on. We have concrete forms sitting over here. I'm hoping to get those set up later, but first we're gonna have to get that mud out of there. And then I also have some work in the existing house basement that needs to be done. The insulation guys are going to be coming in a little bit to get insulation sprayed down on the floor, but before they get here, I need to wrap up a couple things. First things first, this floor drain is about 1/2 inch too high. It's actually the highest point in the entire floor, which we don't want. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to install this other floor drain just 1/2 inch lower than this one. Voila. Now there's really two things that are gonna make this a little tricky. Thing number one, we need to make sure that we have everything at the right height. So I'm probably gonna have to be manipulating the length of this pipe to get that figured out. And then number two, we also need to make sure that the drain itself is going to be level, both this way as well as this way. So getting the height in as well as the levelness, that's gonna be the tricky part. Fortunately for us, we have a laser, so getting the height of things is going to be pretty easy. We'll turn our receiver on here, and what we're gonna do, we are going to establish our grade height. I just adjusted the receiver, so once I set the bottom of the stick on top of this insulation, we should get a solid beep. Just like that. And now that we have grade on the edge, since we have the laser, we can bring it into the middle. We are just either going to lower the drain or raise the drain until we get a solid beep with this sitting on top. So let's just see where we're at right here. We are a little low. We need to go up about 1/2 inch. Since the rocks we're working with are 1 inch rocks and we need to move this up a 1/2 inch, I kind of cheated a little bit. I have some crushed limestone out there, so I brought some of that in, and this is almost like a sand. So I'm just gonna pat this around here. We don't need a lot of it, we just need a little bit. Just gotta raise her up about 1/2 inch. We'll try that. See what we got. Ooh, very close, very close. Little bit more. Beautiful, that's exactly where we need to be. On top of making sure that our drain is level and at the right height, we also need to make sure that our discharge pipe is running downhill. And the way we're gonna check that is with a level. I just need to make sure that it's flowing downwards. Yes, it is. On top of our drain, we are level that way, and we're level that way. We're ready to glue this thing together. In order for me to be able to manipulate all of this stuff freely, I did something called a dry fit, meaning I just took the PVC pieces and I stuck them together. I do not have any glue on them. When I glue them together, I need them to look exactly like what I have right now. So what I'm going to do before I pull it apart is I have a Sharpie, and I am simply just going to mark reference lines going across these. So once I pull this apart and I put glue on, I just have to line up my lines, and then they will match exactly what I have here right now. So we're gonna put a line right here and one right there. I'm not gonna lie, when you're gluing stuff together like this, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because you have 5, maybe 10 seconds to make adjustments on things before you can't move it anymore. Fortunately, we were able to get stuff lined up. Everything is good on height, we're good on levelness. Our next step is, I want to fill the bottom area full of concrete. This is probably something that's not necessary, but we like to put concrete around the drains when we have them roughed in like this, so that way if somebody's walking along and they accidentally kick this, they don't have to worry about moving it because the concrete's not going anywhere. The problem is I don't have any concrete here, so I'm going to be making a trip to the store, and I'm also going to be picking up some other supplies. Okay, here we are at the store. We need one of these. And then we're also getting 3 of these and 3 of these. Okay, here we go. After getting a little bit of concrete around that drain, I'm a little bit out of level. I actually need to pull it that way just a little bit. So what I'm going to try to do is take these ratchet straps and I'm gonna try to wrap it around the drain, and I'm gonna wrap it around one of those studs, and I'm gonna see if I can just pull it that way about 1/4 of an inch. After a bit of back and forth with the ratchet strap and the cinder block, as well as stepping on the top of this, I think we got it pretty close. So we're gonna let that concrete do its thing. Once that's hard, we'll be able to take the cinder block off, we'll be able to take the ratchet strap off, and then everything here should hold. While I'm waiting for the concrete to dry, I'm going to be working over here in this corner. This is going to be a bathroom. So there's going to be a toilet in that corner, there's going to be a sink over here, and there's going to be a shower over there. Now, if you notice, we have the rough-in plumbing for the toilet and the sink right here, but for the shower, we do not have anything. Just so you know, I am not a plumber. I am learning how to do a lot of this stuff by watching YouTube videos, so please keep that in mind. But from the research that I have done, I believe there are 3 different ways of approaching toilets, sinks, and showers. When we are looking at a toilet, as long as we are far enough away from the walls, we are good. We just have to have room for the toilet to be able to actually fit into place. When it comes to the sink, the drain pipe is actually going to be hidden inside of the wall. So as long as we have the location of where the pipe is going to be correct, we can adjust the height of where the water is actually going to dump in later. Now, when it comes to the shower, this is where things get a little bit more complicated. We need to know the exact spot of where the drain is going to be located in the bottom of the shower in order for us to put in our rough-in plumbing. The problem is, I don't know exactly which shower we're going to be using yet, so it's really hard for us to get an exact location of where our rough-in plumbing is going to be when we don't know what shower we're going to be using. So here is what I'm going to do. There is a dead end pipe underneath of this rock. I'm going to take the shovels and I'm going to expose that dead end pipe, and then I'm going to build a little wooden box. I present my solution for not knowing where the drain pipe is going to be. This wooden box is an access point, and since we do not know what shower we are going to be using in the future yet, what this thing is going to do is give us flexibility. We're gonna pour concrete all the way around this thing, and then once the concrete's in place, we'll be able to pull this wood out and we'll still have access to our pipe down below. So we'll be able to come in and put this pipe wherever we need to, and then once we find the spot, we'll just pour concrete, and then we'll be able to put our shower in place. This thing's gonna be super handy because it's gonna be able to allow us to finish pouring the rest of the floor without having to take the time to worry about where this drain is going to be right now. And then also, it allows us to be able to dry fit things before we actually concrete stuff in place, which in my mind, is always a benefit. It looks like our floor drain is now hard, so I should be able to remove our ratchet straps. Moment of truth! Yeah, that didn't do anything. Good. Perfect. Say hello to my little friend. The last thing that we need to do before the insulation guys get here is make sure we have a nice clean floor. I don't want to drag those rolls upstairs because they're super heavy, so I'm just going to wait till they spray a room, and then I'll move those into the area that they sprayed. So we're just going to kind of juggle these things around, but this packer needs to come out. So I'm going to try to drag this thing over, and we're going to use the claw, aka the excavator, to lift it out. And then everything should be ready for insulation. I think we are now completely set for insulation, and the insulation guys are supposed to be here in the morning.
12 hours later.
Buenos dias. It is supposed to be a clear sky, sunny day today, and we're getting started with some excavator work. The insulation guys are supposed to be here in about an hour. While they're doing their thing down in the basement today, my neighbor Justin and my brother Cooper and I are going to be working outside on top of the area where we are getting ready to build some foundation walls with these forms. We have some dirt that we need to get out of here, number one, and then we need to get a power washer down in here later and clean all of our residual dirt off of this, and then hopefully we can get some string lines laid down and we can start figuring out exactly where our forms need to go. And if everything goes good, we'll start bringing those things down and we'll get them set up, but we have a lot of work to do first. Our next step is we need to figure out how we're going to draw a line down on the concrete on where the inside of our forms are going to go and the outside of our forms. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to be pulling some string lines, and then we need to transfer the string line from up here down to the concrete, and then we need to do that the entire way around this whole spot. The spray foam guys just pulled in. There are a couple sales representatives from the spray foam company here today as well. I'm gonna bring them into the basement quick. I have a couple questions for them that I guess I kind of have concerns about with spray foaming in the basement, and hopefully they can alleviate my questions, and then they'll be able to get spraying. Today they are going to be spray foaming the floor. They're not going to be doing anything on the walls, so we have a little bit of time to make some decisions here. But the main question that I have is on top of our wall, we do not have a capillary break between the concrete and our mud sill. And I'm concerned if we close cell spray foam it, we're gonna be trapping moisture inside of that wall that's going to be touching the wood, and that could lead to rot. So I want to see what their views are on that and what we should do to try to mitigate that. And then my other question is, we have this dividing block wall in the middle of the room. It's holding up these two beams, but otherwise it's just sitting here. It's not carrying any load from up above. But this wall is hollow on the inside, or there's pockets, and then those pockets are exposed right up into that floor joist up above us. I'm concerned if we come in here and we spray foam everything, it's gonna make all of this nice and tight, but we're still going to have those ground smells coming up through the top of this wall. So I wanna find out what we need to do in order to be able to get these holes sealed up. I don't know if we need to come in and drill some holes so that way they can get in there to be able to spray them and fill them, or if they are able to spray the top the way it is now, or if I just need to chop some of my sheeting out upstairs so that way they can just spray directly in from the top. I'm just gonna find out whatever the best method is for them, and that's what we're gonna do. If I had to guess, we're probably gonna be cutting out the sheeting. Spray foam guys are going to be doing their thing now. If I had to guess, it's probably gonna take them about 4 hours. While they're working over there, we are going to finish transferring our lines down, and then we're gonna be putting some 2x4s down on the ground so that way we can mount our forms onto the top of them. And then once we have those in place, then we're gonna start the big job of dragging forms down. Okay, we're 22.8 right here.
Should be 60, right?
So I'm 65.2.
Okay.
Burn a foot, so that's 64.2.
I apologize for the throwing around of a bunch of random numbers. We're looking at our plans and we're getting dimensions based on those. And so we're trying to get our string lines to match up with what our plans are saying. And at the moment, our lines are 2 inches off. So we're trying to figure out where our 2-inch discrepancy is coming from. So we are going to do a method called the 3-4-5, which is us trying to make sure that everything is square. How does 3-4-5 work, Justin?
I'll tell you.
You didn't get an A in trigonometry?
I did not get an A in trigonometry.
Did you get an A in trigonometry, Zach?
I got an E+. For more effort required.
If you're not familiar with 3-4-5, this is a simplified version of the Pythagorean theorem in the math world, which would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and this would be the calculation that you would use to find a 90-degree corner in a triangle. So the way 3-4-5 works is we currently have our string lines intersecting with each other, and at that intersection, that is going to be our measuring point. We are going to measure 3 feet down the string line this way, and we're going to put a mark. And then we are going to go back to our intersection, and then this time we're going to measure 4 feet this way, and we're going to put a mark. If we are square in this corner, from this point over to this point, this measurement right here, if it's 5 feet, we're square. If it's not 5 feet, we need to move something with our string lines in order to get this to 5 feet. So that is how 3-4-5 works. And the really cool thing about 3-4-5 is we can actually turn these into multiples to make them bigger, which makes them more accurate. So for example, we could use 9 feet, 12 feet, and 15 feet, since those are all multiples of 3, 4, and 5. We could use 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. We could use 300 feet, 400 feet, 500 feet. The bigger the numbers, the more accurate it's going to be. It is now time to snap some chalk lines. And look at this, Justin spent some money. He got a fancy new chalk line device.
Yep. Tired of the cheaper ones taking a poop on me, so.
What changed? You used the other ones for 30 years.
I know, I just tired of messing with them.
As we're bringing our boards over here, we are evaluating them before we throw them down in the hole. We're looking for 2 different things. We don't want David Bowie's, so that if they got a big bow in them, like this one, we don't want it. And if they're all twisted, aka a twisted sister, we don't want them either. So no David Bowie's and no twisted sisters. We're starting to make some nice progress now. We got a few boards down where our forms are going to sit on top of. We are currently working through our most difficult part of all this, which is figuring out all of the squareness of the bump out. So that way we actually have things lined up where they're supposed to be. Since we have final plans of where things are actually supposed to sit, we can't just pour this and then make things work afterwards. we need to be very precise on how we're building this, so that way when we actually get concrete up and our engineered stuff comes in, everything fits, nothing's too short, and nothing's too long.
12 hours later.
All right, Justin, what is our goal for today?
Get all these boards down and finalized, and probably get some forms down here and some rebar bent.
You heard the man. We're gonna get to work. It's supposed to be a hot one today, and Justin got sunburn on his neck yesterday, and I got sunburn on the back of my legs, so I'm wearing pants to protect myself. What'd you do?
Man up. Gonna get burnt more.
Our next step is the second most physically demanding part of this project, which is installing our rebar. Justin's getting started right here with the SDS Max, and he's drilling into the existing concrete that we have, and then those rebar pieces that I just cut will get shoved into those holes, and so that will tie our new pour into our old pour, so that way we can try to make it be one. After about 3 hours of cutting, bending, and laying rebar, we now have everything put up. On all of our vertical pieces, we have number 4 rebar, so this is ½ an inch thick. We have it every 12 inches on center. This sticks down into the concrete 10 inches, and then there's a little hook down at the bottom, so that way it hooks it into the concrete. And then for our horizontals, we are also 12 inches on center. Some are a little bit more perfect than others. And this is also number 4 rebar. When it comes to rebar, I am definitely a fan of going overkill because rebar gives an incredible amount of extra strength to concrete. And since the house is going to be resting on top of this, this is definitely an area I do not want to be short in. We probably used twice as much rebar as we needed, but one 20-foot stick of this stuff costs $7. So we probably put up $300 worth of rebar today, and we could have probably saved $150 on the rebar right here, but to me, it's worth the extra spend because the house is literally going to be sitting on this. We can't come in and add more later, so this is one of those things, it's overkill, but it makes me feel better about the project. We are now ready for the most physically demanding part of this entire job, which is to start setting up these forms. Zach and Justin already set a bunch out on the inside, and they put form release oil on them, so that's kind of running off right now, so it's not so messy when they get to working with them. We are going to start in this corner while we have the shade, and I don't know what our goal is for tonight, but I think if we can get 10 feet done, we'll probably be doing pretty good.
10 feet, I'm thinking about just getting it started will be good.
Inside of this red container, we have form release oil. What we're gonna do is we're gonna spray it on the forms, so that way once we pour the concrete and we go to pull these things off, the concrete doesn't stick to it, and since these are rental forms, then we'll be able to send it back to the rental company looking just like this, so that way the next person who uses them will have some nice clean forms. Hey Justin, that looks a lot like 10 feet to me.
Yeah, you were right.
I only got 8 in here. 8'6".
We'll put another one on, then you'll get 10.
That'll be 10'6". Yes.
With our first 10 feet of wall set up, we're calling it a night when it comes to setting up forms. Let's jump into the basement now and see what kind of job the spray foam guys did. And drum roll, please. Ah, look at that. That looks absolutely incredible. Wow. When it comes to the spray foam, the main things that we want is we want it to be nice and smooth because we are going to be putting those heated floor lines on the top of this, so it makes it a lot easier to run them when it's smooth. And then number 2, we want to make sure that we have good coverage over everything, which, looking at it, I am not seeing any blank spots. So I would say they did a really good job. This insulation is a closed cell spray foam that is in a 2-pound formula, and we have 2 inches of it. Spray foaming a floor like this is not a very common practice, but I did it for a few different reasons. Reason number 1, this entire basement area plus this is about 1,700 square feet, and they did it in 4 hours. It would have taken me 2 just to go to the other store to get the other stuff, so this was super fast. So that was reason number 1. And when it comes to cost, this stuff has really came down a lot in price in the last couple years. It's almost half of what it used to be. So by the time I factor in all the labor that we saved, it was basically about the same price as the other stuff. Reason number 2, there are no seams in this entire thing. Since they sprayed it down, it's all one continuous thing, and this stuff is an air barrier and a vapor barrier, so we don't really need to worry about radon gas coming up through this, and we also don't need to worry about moisture coming from the ground and making our concrete damp. And then last but not least, this closed cell spray foam insulation has an R value of 7 per inch. Since we have 2 inches of it, we have R14 insulation beneath our heated floor, so it should help our system be pretty efficient. When it comes to our soybeans, check these things out. We are over here on the farm we call Tabletop, and look at this. We officially have soybeans that are over knee tall. And if we look inside the canopy, look way down in there, those little purple things, those are flowers. And it is not going to be very long before these are fully shaded in. This is now our corn, which has officially reached over 7 feet tall. And if we look very closely, right there is the first tassel that I have seen this year. Over the next couple days, all of our corn should start going into pollination, meaning there's gonna be a tassel on top of every plant, and the pollen that those tassels are dropping is what's going to be pollinating the ear. So in probably about a week, we should start to see some little baby ears. I'm super pleased with all of the work that we got done today. Things are moving in a forward direction and things are starting to go really fast. But with that being said, I am tired and I'm gonna call it a day here. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.